Hey, welcome back to today's video. Today, I'm finally venturing out into the real world to take some photos after being stuck in my house for the better part of the past 6 months. So I thought for this week's video, I'd finally go for a hike at a local nature reserve and bring one of my cameras with me to take some photos for this week's video. However, when I started to plan this video, I realized I'm completely out of film. I usually try and keep a few rolls of 120 and 35 just laying around the house in portrait 400s and black and white, but unfortunately at the moment I'm completely out. And considering the current climate, all the local camera stores are online only, and the postal system taking a long time to get things to us, so I can't really get any film in for this week's video. And just when I thought I'd have to cancel this week's video, Fuji Superia X-Tra came to the rescue. I found this laying around in one of my drawers. It's literally the only film I have left in this house. I also realized I wouldn't be able to use my Nikon FG20 for this video as I've got a half-finished roll of Kodak Ektachrome in there, and I've been waiting for a time I can actually travel to take photos to finish it off. But lucky for you and I, this leaves me with the option of shooting with one of the most underrated point-and-shoot cameras of all time. It even gives cult classic cameras like the Olympus MJU2 or the XA2 a real run for their money. And are you ready? It's the Ricoh R-70Q. And in all honesty, I've actually only shot with this camera once on a night out just to take a few photos of friends, so I really don't know how this point and shoot camera is going to perform. And believe it or not, as much as I was ranting and raving about it, I was joking. This is a pretty traditional camera that you're going to find at a thrift store, and I picked mine up from a thrift store for about $4, which means that hopefully today's video will give you a bit of an idea of what a traditional point and shoot camera from an op shop or a thrift store is going to look like. And so then this, in addition to the Fuji Superia, which is a pretty cheap film stock, it only runs about $10 a roll, gives you a bit of an idea of what you're going to be looking at in regards to a combination of camera and film if you're wanting to shoot film on a bit more of a tight budget. Now I'm actually recording this the day before I go out and take photos. I'm going to head out at about 6 AM and try and catch sunrise tomorrow morning. It's supposed to be clear and sunny, so fingers crossed it all goes to plan. And I'll also probably speak a little bit at the end of the video about my experience with this camera and once I've had a chance to have a look at the film scans when I get them back from the lab. So make sure you stick around until the end of the video if you want to hear more about my thoughts on this pretty cheap camera setup. Hey, good morning. I've just arrived out at the hike for sunrise, although by the look of those clouds, I don't think there's going to be much of a sunrise. So I'm just going to hike up the mountain, still take a few photos, probably finish off a roll, see what I can get. There goes a kangaroo. Anyway, I'm going to keep heading up the mountain and taking some photos, and I'll bring you guys along with me. This dude's ripped. I just got back from shooting sunrise this morning, and I'm sure as you saw it was completely overcast. There was no sunrise, so definitely worth getting out of bed at 6 AM for. And I actually have about 3/4 of a roll left in my camera. I have to head down the street now and run some errands, so I was thinking I might take my camera with me and finish off the roll while I'm out and about. And hopefully these photos should be a really good contrast to this morning's images where I was dealing with a lot of heavy greens and overcast lighting. And taking this camera to the street should give you guys a really good comparison for both the camera and the film and how they handle different environments. So I'm probably not going to shoot any B-roll while I'm out and about because I do have to run a few errands, but I'll speak to you guys in a few days once I get the scans back from the lab. Hey, so I'm recording this a few days later once I've got the scans back from the lab, which obviously you guys have seen already in the video, but I just wanted to jump on a few key points in regards to both the film and the point and shoot camera. So I just want to say straight off the bat that I'm so grateful I went out and took those photos later on in the day when the sun actually came out. As you're well aware, I completely lucked out when it came to sunrise. The forecast literally changed in a matter of hours between me going to sleep and waking up in the morning. So instead of being a really nice sunrise, it was just super dark and moody and not at all what I'd shoot on a point and shoot traditionally. On top of this, personally, when I'm shooting nature, I'm usually shooting with Portrait 400. I just really like the way that it renders the greens. And I did get a couple of images that I didn't mind earlier on in the day, but I think the photos I got when the sun actually came out later on were just far better. And I think the photos later in the day lend better value to what you can really do with a cheap setup like this. I did want to touch on one downside of the camera and really secondhand cameras in general. When I got the scans back from the lab, they did mention that there was a scratch somewhere on the lens that was then showing up on the photos. I've since taken a look at the camera and I can't really see anything, so that means that it's probably something internal that I won't really be able to fix without taking the camera apart. But it's definitely something to keep in mind if you're going to pick up a secondhand camera, particularly something from a thrift store. At the end of the day, you don't even know whether the camera is going to work or not. But obviously if you're picking something up from a thrift store, you're probably only spending about $5 or $10 max, so it's not that big of a deal if you pick something up and it's a bit of a dud. But all in all, I actually had a really fun time going out and using this camera. It was probably because it was my first time going out and taking photos in such a long time. And at the time of filming this video, there have been some Victorian regulation changes, which means I can finally go outside and take photos and I can travel up to 25 kilometers from my home, which means hopefully I'll be filming way more videos for you guys. And if you shoot with a point and shoot, or you just shoot film in general, or even just take photos, or do anything creative, or you just want to have a chat, make sure you reach out to me on Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. And while I've got you here, if you could leave a like and a comment and subscribe if you haven't already, that would mean a lot. And until next time, see you later.